First of all, straight people are never going to be as interesting as gay people. There's a certain
agree.
fairy magic that we have and that we do. And they like it because if we're not there, it's not a party.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's that element to it. But, you know, the other thing is, and then when you get to our corner of the world, it goes through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're the most interesting people on the planet. We really are. Because we don't think like other people do. My insides and my outsides match. And, you know, even when I was still wearing pants, everybody was calling me Ma. Do you know? And there's always been that nurturing thing about me, which unfortunately is more female than male.
Why, unfortunately?
Well, because I wish men were taught to be more nurturing, that it was okay.
Agreed.
Right? It doesn't make you less of a man. Your dick's not going to chop off. You know? And that's what it means to me. I get to live the way I want. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think for me also, it's a sense of fluidity, and in terms of living the way that I want, that sense of freedom to be different.
Uh-huh.
I know your reality may be a little bit different than mine, but for me, sometimes every day is different. You know, I'm not the only one who has a body like this, but apparently I had abnormal levels of testosterone naturally for a woman. So they wanted to prescribe me estrogen to balance it out.
Mm-hmm.
Either take estrogen pills or get an IUD, right? Which is like a birth control thing in your arm. And I was like, I don't want to do either of those, right?
Right.
Like, this is the way my body is right now. And yes, I know that, you know, my menstrual cycle not being regular is not a good thing, but I know that there's also a lot of health risks with IUDs, and also I didn't feel comfortable, especially for me as someone who is exploring more like trans masculinity. I was like, I don't want to take estrogen. But then I thought about it in thinking about this conversation today, and it was like, wow, that was so easy for that person to just prescribe me estrogen because it was a matter of like menstrual health, or, you know, something that a woman, right? Because of course they perceived me as a woman, and at that time I believe I was presenting more feminine, so I was perceived as like a cisgender woman, and versus a trans person, right? A trans woman or trans feminine person or gender nonconforming person who just wants to take estrogen and take hormones. It's so fucking hard for people to get the hormones that they need and deserve.
Well, to get back to estrogen, at the trans clinic, my experience was they were giving out estrogen and shots and the whole thing to every speed freak drag queen in the world. And substance abuse and hormones.
What state was this in? What state was this in? What state were you in? Where was
California,
it? Okay.
here in San Francisco. They were giving them in oodles and boodles to who would come and sell them in the clubs, of course, but the ones which was better than them using it, because if you're a speed freak and you're taking estrogen, you start channeling Carrie at the prom. I mean, you start having mental breakdowns because of the hormones and your drug intake. They do not go together. I mean, I've had people call me here to come down to Divas down the street because somebody was having a hormone speed meltdown and they didn't know how to talk to them. But I did. You know, I grew up with crazy. It doesn't scare me. You know, other people's crazy doesn't scare me. You know, and so, but literally to talk him down and get him the fuck out of the bar.
What do you think the the biggest needs of the trans community is?
It's a difficult question.
It's a difficult question.
Yeah, we
What's
need
the
like
first thing that
5
comes
more
to mind?
hours.
Like, if you could pick, like, the first thing that comes to mind, or like top 3, like.
Acceptance.
I was gonna say that too.
Acceptance. Just, and if you don't understand it and you don't like it, that's fine. But stay out of my way.
Right.
Because you see, I've got 36 years clean and sober, but this is as far as I've come. Suicide's off the table. Murder is not. And, if you're going to get in my face, I'm not going to the hospital alone. I'm not asking anybody to love me. Anybody on the planet. But don't get in my way. That's what I want. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Except the fact that I'm there and that I'm going to stay and that you better fucking leave me alone.
I agree.
I
agree. It's always been a perplexion, if that's a word for me, about people who go out of their way to make our
you
lives
miserable.
right.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
the energy that you are wasting on being
they're
a
not
piece
wasting
of
it.
shit. Well, the energy you are choosing to
They're
harness
not using
into
it
that.
wisely,
Right,
but they're
it's like
not
you could
wasting
have
it.
been
They're
putting
doing
that
it
to
so they
yourself.
can feel better about the
Right.
life they don't have.
Of course. Of course, a lot of violence comes from internalized stuff, right? Internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia. Like you said, straight people just want to live a free and limitless life like queer and trans people do. And I think to answer the question further, besides acceptance, which I completely agree upon, the transgender community needs more access, right? And more community. Like, of course the community is very strong, but kind of what I was going off earlier about, even within the transgender community, right, there's still a disconnect between youth and elders, or people who only think of transgender as being, okay, there's this process where you take hormones, you get a surgery, you do this and this, which is a real reality for some people, but for other people who identify as gender nonconforming or non-binary or gender queer, transgender may look a little bit differently. And it's not better or worse, it's just different, right? So even what you were saying about people just staying out of your way, right? My transness looks different than yours transness, but that's totally okay, right? Like,
Or should be, yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's acceptance within our community.
I'm not worried about the people in our community. I'm worried about the ones outside.
Why?
Because we do fuss and have feathers, but it's like family.
Right.
You can, with family, you can razz them, but don't let anybody from the outside do it. And it's like that. It's like family. We fight like family.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
it's the people that what pisses me off above all things in my life is that the people who spread hate are making so much money doing it.